Hello and welcome to Day 2 of Voices 2021, Building Together, Share, Learn, Inspire. To start us off today, we have a presentation titled Prioritizing Health and Wellness by Honoring Cultural Traditions, a Waimānalo Model. This presentation will describe efforts in the community of Waimānalo to grow the capacity and skill set of Native Hawaiian families by promoting ancestral knowledge of food production and integrating community voice and input. Joining us on screen today to share their work, we have Dr. Jane Chung-Do, Ilima Ho Lostamosa, Lachey Kali'i Holokai, and Samantha Kalana Scott.
Aloha nui kako from Waimnalo, Hawaii. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day. We look forward to sharing all of this with you. And if we can do a quick pule, mahalo keako for this beautiful day in Hawaii and throughout the world. Bless all of those who are present and inspired to be here. Take us all home when we're done with this beautiful day to our ohana and families and keep us safe in our communities. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. Aloha, Emily Moho Lastimosa. I'm the community coordinator at the Waimnalo Learning Center, University of Hawaii, College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Research, TPSS, and a director at Kekulanui Manalo.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Lachey Holokai, born and raised in Waimnalo, and I sit on the board of Kekulanui Manalo.
Hello, everyone. I'm Samantha Kalana Scott. I have been following Kekulanui Waimnalo for a long time with Auntie Ilima. I'm a public health PhD student at the University of Hawaii at Mānoa.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Jane Chung-Do. I'm an associate professor with the Public Health Department at University of Hawaii at Mānoa. I'm also a board member at Kekulanui Waimnalo. So our presentation today is Prioritizing Health and Wellness by Honoring Cultural Traditions, a Waimnalo model. So we wanted to share with you folks about what we do in Waimnalo to really promote cultural traditions, specifically Hawaiian traditions and values, and how we have been getting through COVID and addressing a lot of the issues that has arisen for the past few years and beyond. So Auntie Ilima will be talking about, give you a background about Native Hawaiian community, the history, and how we look at the community and what lens we are looking through.
So aloha. And as the slide says, you know, prior to 1778 and the arrival of Captain Cook in Hawaii, our people were very healthy, strong, independent, sovereign, and full of zest for life in this beautiful space, Hawaii. And who wouldn't be, right? We have friends from Aotearoa who wonder why their kupuna left Hawaii to go to such a cold place. I wonder that as well, because when I go to visit, it's freezing, even if it's in the summer. So as this quote says, He ali'i ka aina he kaua ke kanaka. We have to go back to the traditional ways of knowing and the understanding that is in charge, not the people. And that's the lens that we try to come from as far as the programs that we offer, and always trying to instill life and goodness into the aina as well as into the people. So if there's health in the aina, in the land, there's always going to be health for the people. If we live we got to learn to live again instead of living at Walmart, Target, and Foodland. I think that brings back health to all of our people. Plantations, militarization, just changing of the landscape. And actually what I like to talk about really is like the taking of land for militarization in Hawaii. The military takes a lot of our aina that is important to us, especially the sacred spaces. That's one thing that we noticed today, is that all of those spaces that are wahipana, sacred to our people, is the things that they take away and try to diminish. So it's important to remind ourselves of all of the healthy wahipana, all of those sacred spaces today and always. Beginning in the 1970s and giving back of kaho'olawe, I think it was 1994, really sparked the generation. And our job as the makua and kupuna is to teach our children that it's good to be Hawaiian. It's good to know where you come from and understand who you are as a person in this world, and just do what you gotta do to understand who you are and remember so that we are not forgotten as a people. Mahalo. Shay, you want to share about Waimānalo?
Sure. So that red star right there is Waimānalo, and it's an ahupua'a on the moku or island of Oahu. Um, Before things were split, actually, what is known as Ho'eikai right now was part of the ahupua'a of Waimānalo, and so with that purchasing of land on that side by Henry Kaiser, the Waimānalo Ahupua'a was split, and now it's known as Hawaii Kai. Um, we used to house actually the biggest fish pond, Kuapa, in the state that fed not only Oahu but a lot of the neighboring islands, which is now known as Coca Marina. So it was dredged out to create a marina for recreational fun, um, and it served as a refrigerator for most of our people. So there's a lot of trauma around going to Costco's to purchase your food, which you would have gone to a kuopa or a local ia to go and harvest your food instead of going to Costco's. So there's a little bit of history there for, especially for our people of Waimānalo, and knowing that a lot of the vahipana or sacred spaces, like Auntie Lima talked about, was stripped away from our people for recreation and for higher cost of living homes and um, rich individuals that a lot of our people can't afford to live in those spaces anymore. So very sad to see and hear, um, and be exposed to that every day. Yeah. So this is part of our ahupua'a. Total population 9,872. Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders 32. We have, I believe, the second biggest homestead on the island here in Waimānalo. I think the first is the Wai'anae Coast. Um, some facts: 70% are more likely to have hypertension, 3 times coronary heart disease, and 4 times stroke. So a lot of disparities in our community that follows kind of our trauma as Native Hawaiians. Per capita income 23,000. Latest update, I think the minimum or medium cost of household right now, or cost of house, is $1 million, around there, something like $1,050,000 something. But the income that our people bring in is about 23,000. So I mean, you can see the inconsistencies in the ratio of income and cost of living. Below poverty level 13%, unemployment rate 8%, without high school diploma 11%. And do you like talk about this?
Sure. Sorry, guys. I think you guys can hear the military helicopter passing by my house. But what I really want to share is that the strengths of our community is that we all love our children, and we believe and they are the future, especially for Hawaiians. And so it's always important for us to share all of our knowledge, ike and mana, with them, and in doing so, also elevating them, and not only elevating but understanding they need to be better than us in a lot of other people's ways. They always want the other guys to be less than, and that is not the case for Kanaka. We always want to elevate and send them beyond, and no excuses, because we're giving you all the tools and the knowledge that you need to be better than we ever were. And that was always the way it's been. Always to be better, always to uplift, always to move forward. And so, yeah, we come from a very close space, very small community. Don't blink while you're driving through, and definitely don't speed when you drive into our community. But if you blink and you talk too much, you're gonna miss Waimānalo and all of its goodness. Community advocacy. We've been at this for a long time with lots and lots of programs. But again, the powers that be never taught us about all of these programs and opportunities that are out there. And so today we teach our kids how to write grants, how to go on trips and learn about other places, because we never know. I never went to college in my youth. I had to go when I was as a parent, as an older parent. And so, learning, pushing them to do better than the rest of us, and living mountain to ocean. So that's an ahupa, is from the tips of the mountains to the first reef outside in the ocean. That's where you live, and that's where you flourish. So those strengths in Waimānalo is important to all of us, and we look forward to seeing what our children can do much better than we ever could. Mahalo.
So we're going to show, thank you, Auntie and Shay. We're going to show a quick video that really highlights what Waimānalo is about. I'm going to show this video. It's about 5 minutes.
And Jane, really quick. So this video was made by the youth, the OPO in Waimnalo, are one of our active ohana and participants who actually runs 2 programs that is a part of Kekulanui Manalo, and his name is Pahonu Coleman. And this is his group, Nakukui o Waimnalo.
And Pahono is 16 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
If you hear me speak about the children of Waimānalo, I always say the Rafton kids, because I was a Rafton kid in Waimānalo. My name is Ilima Holasimos, ILIMA. I'm from Agroforestry Street, Waimānalo, and my dad was a fisherman, and a lot of our food came from the ocean. That's probably one of the issues for kids, because they don't know how to use their hands. Was forced child labor. There was a lot of us kids, and we had to learn everything that you have to do to eat and to survive. People afraid of bees and whatever, and it's like, it's a sad space for me to feel people have that fear, because we have to live in harmony with everything that is in our environment, whatever it is, because they all have a purpose. It was a learning process when we started in 2005, and it was just a challenge from my old boss, Olin Lagan, to, oh, Ilima, you should do a nonprofit organization. Oh, sure, I don't know what that is, but let's go. And then we just did it, and we didn't know what we were doing, but that's how God's Country Waimānalo was birthed. And everybody said, how you came up with the name? I said, well, it always was God's Country. I think the kids today gotta learn all the hands-on stuff, because they get too much technology and not enough actual hana. I think when we introduce ocean activities, gardening, just Hawaiian stuff, making ukulele, teaching them how to play, was really, really good for them. Knowing who you are, knowing how to work, and knowing how to be self-sufficient is more important than anything you ever going to learn in college. A lot of times, kids today get plenty book smarts, but then I'm a common sense. I think we was fortunate to grow up at Kaiono, so that was a whole separate community from Memorial, the last day of school till Labor Day, and that was, we all grew up together. So we all took care of each other, whether it was in the diapers or 15 years old and you got to go home and take a shower or whatever. That wasn't a one person, it was always this place. No matter what you're going through, no failure, I know. Because no matter what, you ain't never going to get them back, because it's too expensive. And you're going to either end up homeless or you're going to end up in Vegas. I think that's why it's important to grow your own food and not have to depend on other people, and change the mindset of how food is produced, because it doesn't come from the store. It comes from somebody's hard labor, and it really ain't hard if you take the time to communicate with the Aina. The skill sets that, you know, could stay with you forever. So my me'e is Agroforestry and all of that surrounding area, and everybody that was in it that brought me up. I always appreciate Waimnalo. I always tell everybody I won't die over here, and they cannot understand why, you know, like move someplace else. But only when you go away do you understand how special this place is. I think I know that Waimnalo breeds greatness. I've seen it for generations. What we strive for is just to give all of you whatever it is that you need, because that was us. The nonprofit realm is a great place for all of us because we never really understand any of that. Nobody taught us that. For us to teach you all of this now, skill sets in writing grants, doing the reporting, using the money to better everybody is skill that we wasn't fortunate to understand, observe, and partake in. And if we can teach you guys that, we can tell our own story. You can tell our stories for us rather than other people trying to tell us who we are, how we're supposed to behave, what we're supposed to look like, and how we're supposed to act. I think all of that is you guys' kuleana. It's kanaka to teach our babies that every day.
Cool.
If you hear me speak,
Oh, come on.
Love you, Auntie. I never know I was following that video. That's a tough act to follow. But one of the many awesome things that Auntie brought to Waimānalo is research, the process of research. She's been involved with research in Waimānalo for over 10, 15 years. And Dr. Jane Chung-Do was one of her students before while she was doing her MPH. So they have a relationship of over 10 years. And in 2015, they actually attended the Community-Based Participatory Research Partnership Academy in Detroit at the Urban Research Center of the University of Michigan. And one of the things that they got was seed funding to start a community gathering where they could start to look at what research looked like in the community and identify preferences and priorities for the community so that they could start to do research that was defined by the community. So in 2017, they started a gathering with no intention, but just to bring the community together and talk about research. And now we've been going strong for, it's 2017, so maybe going on 5 years. We meet once a month, and the community gets to identify priorities in their community with research. And we created a mission together, which is to collaborate and work toward a healthier Waimānalo through education, aloha aina, and honoring and transferring ike and values of kupuna to keiki through pono research practices. Pono means just and righteousness. It's better than good. It's almost sacred. It's the best thing that you could be doing. Waimnalo Pono Research Hui approaches the research process with the Waimnalo community in a Pono way, using community-based participatory principles as a foundation which strives for something partnerships and reciprocal learning and benefits. Essentially, what Waimnalo Pono Research does is it discontinues that harm that research usually has in Indigenous communities and reinforces Indigenous and Hawaiian epistemologies. And it creates shared power between researchers from the university and researchers in the community, and really make sure that research is defined by the community. Next slide. One of the ways that we talked about what Pono Research was in the community was Jane had everyone write down, what does Pono Research mean to you? So she had these big Post-it board papers, and people stuck small Post-its on it. And these were just some of the stuff that people came up with. Pono Research is a chance and a place to get involved with the Waimnalo community and learn Hawaiian culture. It allows me to stay connected to the community and learn all of the good things that our programs do for Waimnalo. It also allows me to see everyone. It means ohana, family. It also gives opportunity for us to work on projects or programs that will enhance ohana, as well as helping our community to be self-sufficient in the care of our aina and ocean. It's super important to have in this setting and protocols set in place and continues to support our community. So one of the things that we did with Pono Research is we co-developed protocols and rules of engagement, kind of like a community IRB, so that anybody that would come and want to work and collaborate with the group would have to abide by these certain protocols and rules of engagement. One of those rules is to propose your research to the Waimnalo Pono Research Hui Shark Tank. In that Shark Tank, the researcher proposes their research. The community and all its members are able to ask questions, and only the community members, so the residents of Waimnalo who have attended at least 3 meetings, are allowed to vote if they want to be collaborators in that research project. This was established not just for the university researchers involved with Pono Research, but also outside university researchers, because we kind of created a puka, or like a hole, where all these researchers then started to flock to Waimnalo Pono Research Hui, as they could see Waimnalo Pono Research Hui as the community partners in their research grants. So this process kind of protects Waimnalo in a way, and ensures there's a process to make sure that research is culturally safe and community oriented. And the last one here is safeguarding our community, doing right by our lahui, our nation, opportunities of development and growth, celebrating and honoring our ancestors, and connection to each other and our environment. Oh, sorry, last one. Collaboration of community organizations that contribute to perpetuating Hawaiian culture. And then in 2017, we asked the community what are 3 priority areas that they wanted to work on in the upcoming year. The first was Limu, which is seaweed, Aipono, good healthy foods, and La'au, Hawaiian herbal medicine.
So in the same year, in 2017, we also established a nonprofit called Kekulanui Manalo. And this is really the nonprofit that helps us grow the programs and our efforts and allows the money to stay in the community. So we have another short video for you to explain what we do in Kekulanui.
Our nonprofit's name is Kekulanui Manalo, and our vision is or building communities. We were looking for a means to be able to run some different programs and capacity building, whether or not it's being able to do aquaponics or replenish Limu so that you can go out and gather Limu. The food forest that we had, being able to collect fruits and stuff from there. Chickens, being able to collect your own eggs, and the community being able to sustain themselves and not having to worry about external pressures or having to import stuff in from the mainland. Two of our biggest programs that we have for Kekulanui Waimānalo is the Waimānalo Hui, which is where we replenish the Limu supply in Waimānalo Bay. Most of our plantings are done at Kaiona Beach Park every month, and quarterly we restore Pahonu, which is an old turtle enclosure that we actually put some of the Limu on top to try and grow it out there. Another big program that we have is Malama Aquaponics.
Aquaponics gets the name from the aquaculture and the hydroponics moving with the fish and the plant. And it's been very attractive, not just commercially, but especially in communities, because it really kind of mirrors traditional fish and koi, mountain ocean in a kind of model system. And so it's very attractive. The community has been interested for a long time, and one of our board members, Auntie Limu, has been instrumental in bringing that into the community.
Before it was just putting systems in people's yards, so it's a couple hundred in Waimānalo, and we've been all over the place, but it looks complicated, but it's so simple once you get the concept, and I really love to teach children.
Our program, Ola Kino, started in 2017 as a way for our keiki to instill healthy habits, practice health through food consumption and exercise. Nakukua o Waimānalo was founded by me and a bunch of my hoa. Well, our main mission is to inspire youth of our community through the mele and mo'olelo of our alaka'i and our musicians in our community.
So Pink is a holistic women's group that is modeled after Uncle Ish's Pink program done at the Kekulanui Trust that Auntie Lima participated in. And Pink stands for Puwai Ike Na'o and Kino, so heart, knowledge, all-knowing, and body. That's what we centered around, like holistic, all of women's health. So we recognize that we need a safe space to just be with us and not be judged and not be held to a different standard, because we have a lot of kane around us all the time, and so it's nice for us to just kind of check out and to just be in fellowship with each other and to support and lean on each other. And so it's been an awesome journey so far.
Our food program started the end of March. We have lots of people that are out of work. The kids got to stay at home. Kids can eat. Feels good to feed the people that need to be fed, especially the vulnerable, the kupuna, but the ones that are homebound, they really appreciate the nutritious food. The businesses are preferred to be on Oahu, and that's what we're trying to do, is feed our community with our greater community of Oahu. And it's very powerful, in my opinion, to be able to do that and to order the food that is relevant to the people that's eating it.
Kekulanui is a holistic nonprofit. That's the only way to build up our community, is to build us all up in our own individual way that we need.
As individuals, we have connections all over the place. We bring those together, and it's an important mechanism to build synergies within the community. And so it's a nice pico, so to speak, for everybody to kind of come together.
What's beautiful about our organization, Kekulanui Manalo, is that we engage everybody, Kiki, Kupuna, everybody in between.
Just bringing everyone together, bringing us closer, and then honestly, it's just trying to help and bring knowledge to everyone on how to be sustainable, especially during this time.
We started off with Kekulanui Manalo, but we've definitely outgrown Waimānalo already. A lot of our programs are extending past our Waimānalo borders. I think the greater impact will be seen within the whole state.
So I'll be talking a little bit about the aquaponics that you saw in the video. And like I mentioned, my name is Jane. I am not Hawaiian. I sometimes one person that is not Hawaiian in this group. I just really have to acknowledge how fortunate and blessed I am to be a part of this crew and to be invited into this community and to be able to collaborate for many years now. And just as a settler here in Hawaii, and how I benefit from the colonization and the historical trauma that has happened to the ancestors and to the people, the indigenous people of this land. That's something that I continue to reflect on, and just feel very privileged to be here and to be presenting about the work that is being done in this beautiful community. And aquaponics is something that I've been a part of since I was a master's student. I met Auntie Lima, and I just fell in love with everything that was going on in this beautiful community, and just stuck around and kept just tagging along. And aquaponics was introduced to me at that time, and I saw the community just really loving it. And I think this was mentioned in the video, but I think a big part of it is because these aquaponic systems look like a mini ahupua'a. They function as a mini ahupua'a, where the grow beds represent the land and the fish tanks represent the ocean. And so the plants and the fish depend on each other to work. So it's this ecologically sustainable system. And the families come together to nurture the system together. They feed the fish together. And it's also that aloha aina, malama aina kind of concept where when we take care of the plants and the fish, and in return, they take care of us. So it's really this innovative concept to merge ancestral knowledge with the modern technology of aquaponics. So families learn how to build and take care of that backyard aquaponics system together. So we teach them how to put it together, how to maintain it, how to maintain the fish and the plants. And at the same time, they also learn how to make medicine or la'au and healthy meals using the plants and the fish that are grown in the aquaponics system. And people do it together as a hui or as a cohort. So there's about 10 families that come together and they go through this program together. And so it's not just about the community the family coming together, but it's also about the wider community and neighbors coming together to restore this, ancestral or traditional way of growing food together. So it's a collectivist system where people are doing it together and sharing their produce with one another. So here's a quick time lapse of us building one of the systems, and this system actually is now in my home. So it's, we've grown so many things, and, a lot of the gardening literature talks about how teaching kids how to grow their own food makes them more likely to eat vegetables and fruit and try new things. And to see my own kids, like seeing that in my own family, my kids feed the fish every day. They help us clean out the system. They help us plant. They choose what we plant. And, they're trying all kinds of vegetables that I know they would not have tried otherwise. And it's really opened up the way that we think about food. So to be able to see that in my own family and also see it in the community, it's pretty awesome. So we've been collecting data. This turned into a clinical study. So Auntie has been doing aquaponics since 2009, but in 2018, we got the permission from the community to look at this as a clinical health study. So we've been collecting blood pressure, hemoglobin A1C, cholesterol, and other psychosocial measures. And over the years, we've, what the community tells us and what we've learned is that there's so many holistic benefits of aquaponics. So we found that people who participate in this program eat more vegetables, fruit, and fish. There's some evidence that it could possibly lower blood pressure. It's a mental health and stress reducer, the whole concept of gardening and taking care of the aina. There's financial savings. Like she mentioned, the cost of living in Hawaii is just out of control, and food is so super expensive, especially fresh, organic fruits and vegetables. And so being able to grow all that in your aquaponic system our participants report financial savings in that. And then, it's not just about teaching people about aquaponics and the technology. It's also grounded in Hawaiian culture and the concept of aloha aina, the concept of pilina, where it's really about relationships and connectedness with your neighbors and your family. So people love that concept. And then, like I mentioned, people also report that family and that community connectedness is really the center of it all, right? Food is about bringing people together. So here's a quote from one of our participants. It brought all of us together to work through all the different stuff and help one another to get better and excel to where we needed to be. It helps make the program more interesting and beneficial for everyone. So I'm going to hand it over to Shay to share a little bit more about another program where we are growing the capacity in the community to grow food.
So our Ulupono Mahi Aina program is one of our newest programs, and it kind of was birthed out of, in a sense, the response to COVID, and this kind of foresight that we don't just want to provide food bags for our present, ohanas in Waimānalo that to just feed them now, but we want to feed them for, hundreds of years to come. And so this idea of agroforestry and indigenous food systems was kind of put into our laps through, of course, Auntie Ilima and her research through what is, in a sense, innovative, what's going on. And her foresight is amazing because, the ideas of agroforestry is our kupuna's way of living, but yet has been brought back so that we can learn on how to better grow our communities for our future. And so our families within Waimnalo and also outside of Waimnalo in Kailua, Punalu'u, Waiava, Kahalu'u, and now we're expanding to probably Hilo on Hawaii Island. And so it's this idea of creating this agroforestry or this canopy of food that can be produced over 100 years to come, and it can support ohana and communities. And so we've instilled these food forests on different aina in Waimnalo and also in those other places. As you can see on the left, the Ohana Comens aina that has been developed as agroforestry, and then on the right, Auntie Blanche at the Kauhale site where we have our houseless camps there. So they're able to feed their community through this agroforestry program. And again, it's like centered around food insecurities, but it's more than that. Yeah, food is just not something that we consume to just live, but thrive. Yeah, and so by feeding our community, by participating in these work days allows us to bring our community and the greater good. So like talking about again holistic health. Yeah, it's not just about agroforestry. It's a lot more deeper. The kauna behind everything we do is a lot more deeper than just what it looks like. And being able to provide, in a sense, stress relief for these ohana that maybe cannot afford all the times to provide food for now they have this foresight to be like, I can grow my own food, and to see their keiki and their opio being able to learn to work in aina again, and the benefits of that, and being able to harvest from their own place, their own hanao, yeah, the sands of their births, to feed themselves and their ohana. It's very, very inspiring and rewarding to see our community grow in this way, and then able to share that out to different communities also. So that's one of our newest programs at the moment. And then our Lumuhi, so it is one of our most public programs within Kekulanui o Waimnalo. it's one of our biggest work days that we have. Our Limu Hui, where we do our planting of limu within the Waimnalo Bay, specifically at Kiona Beach Park, is roughly 80 to 150 people on a work day. And then we also have our Pahonu restoration. So Pahonu is a turtle enclosure. So a local or a local honu where the chief in Waimnalo loved to eat honu, and so he would use this space to store his honu, so that when he was ready to eat, that he had that resource. And so that effort's been around since 2017, and building up this local has inspired people, upwards of like 250 to 350 people on a given work day. And so it is one of our more public programs that is a part of Kekulanui. We also are growing. We have a partnership with Sea Life Park right now, where we're able to grow out our own limu, and actually plant limu that is grown from the waters of Waimnalo in back into our bay. And we've also had partnerships with amazing people that has brought cultural practices to our hui. We used to use raffia for once to braid our limu leis and then plant that in the ocean. But with our from our dear friend Maliaki Papa, she brought the aho, or the cordage practice of ulehala. So using the root of the puhala, or the pandanus tree, to create cordage, so that we weren't putting um, plant material that was foreign to our oceans into, you know um, into the ocean. And so, you know, using our cultural practice, reigniting that kupuna ike, to again do something that we want to perpetuate, and also like revive our limu, but you know, grounding that in cultural practices. So limu is one of the most important parts of the Native Hawaiian diet. Well, it was at one point. And if it wasn't for our kupuna, Auntie Luana Albino, who brought it up in our Pono Research Hui, where she said, I like, when she was young, she could smell the limu. And what the wind name for Waimānalo is Limu li Pu'upu'u, and the wind name was given because there was such an abundance of limu on our shores that you could smell the limu when the wind would blow. And so she wanted to see that again. And so it was through her efforts that we sought out Uncle Wally Ito, who learned from Uncle Henry Ro Chang, and he brought that practice back um, to Eva Beach Limu project, and then has shared it through the Limu Hui collective that is statewide through the Kula network. And so he brought that information back to us. And so we're able to now, in a sense, grow our own limu and plant our own limu within the waters of Waimnalo Bay. So amazing project. Yeah, Jane. So again, Auntie's foresight. So all this programs centered around food security, food insecurity, being able to grow and work in Aina. There's this idea of preserving that, yeah. And so it's just another step up of what Kekulanui does already, and that's our Master Food Preservation Program. And so we partnered with Kalen Kelekoma, who is from Kauai, and he has certified a bunch of us to start to learn how to preserve our food that we produce, because a lot of these aquaponic systems, food forests, we're going to have an abundance of food that we all can't share out immediately all the time. And so teaching the community how they can preserve their food so that it can last for at least a year on their shelf. Sometimes it doesn't last that long because it's so annoying. We end up eating it all anyway. But yeah, so this was another program that we participated this summer during COVID, and we're able to learn how to can and preserve our own food. Is this me too? Sure. Okay. So our 10-year vision, yeah, recreate Ahopua food systems in contemporary time. Pai'ana learning, share our practices through different workshops, keep our community reconnected. Hopefully with the opening up of COVID here in, the opening up of gatherings, we can reconnect again. I think that's been the hardest thing for our community, is being able to physically reconnect. Has been difficult because that's the way we thrive, and that's what is our health centered around, is each other. Revitalize our cultural practices of our roots and build resilience in communities. Protect the land and natural resources from overdevelopment. Educational spaces that is grounded in cultural values. Transform the narrative of Hawaiians as healthy people. Co-create and cultivate pilina across sectors for aloha for all. From the mountain to the sea, the Aina and the Kai can provide for the community as it did years ago. So, Iola. Yeah, so mahalo for having us here. I think we have a little bit time for Q&A. Anybody got any questions?
I just wanted to share with the the greater community that's listening that 2022 we will feature Limu, and we are looking to share Limu, Year of the Limu, as in 2022, bringing back the abundance of seafood in all of our communities throughout the Pai'aina of Hawaii. Through legislative process, we tried to get it to be sanctioned by the public, and it didn't. But as practitioners of this practice of Limu restoration, all of us throughout the Pai'aina plan to do it anyway. So look for us in the new year, restoring Limu throughout the Pai'aina and sharing the absolute mana of Limu and why it's important to us as Kanaka. And mahalo, lono I ka makahiki.
Thank you. I have a quick question. I know that during COVID-19, there's been a lot of work that you've all been doing. Could you share a little more about what you've done during COVID-19? Because everything you all do is based on community, but being able to gather is so important. And that has been difficult these past 20 months. So how did you guys kind of alleviate that kind of gathering and being able to serve the community in that way?
I'd like to answer that. So Zoom is a blessing and a curse, but we've gone hybrid with our Pono Research program. We tried to gather again for a couple of months, and then the numbers started to spike again in the summer. So we have to go back to online Zoom, where our community members pick up food, pick up their Hana No'eau project, whatever that is, and then they go home and watch it on Zoom. And it kind of sucky, but it is what it is, and we know that it works because we have a lot of participation every month. Same with our Malama program. We just returned this past Sunday evening from the island of Hilo, the big island of Hawaii, and the community of Hilo. We were fortunate to engage 5 Hawaiian homestead communities on that island, and then we did a hands-on workshop. We'll go Zoom mode for the next 6 months, and then we'll go back, or 5 months, and then we'll go back to Hilo and actually implement the program. So the learning process won't be hands-on. It'll be a lot of book smarts, but it helps us to do our work and engage with the community. And COVID has done that to us. We're all sick and tired of Zoom, but we make the best of what we can. If we cannot gather at least we can share our knowledge and ike with each other, and still, even though we no can honi, and be pili with each other, we can still share our knowledge and information. That's important, and especially if with isolation, because your mental health is key, and not doing nothing and just looking at the four walls is going to drive people insane. So it's been a blessing as far as that goes. So mahalo for the question, and anybody else can answer.
Yeah, I think we were also approached by the city and county of Honolulu to actually feed our community, which was powerful during COVID time. So that COVID money provided us to support local businesses and also feed our community. So we're grateful for that time. COVID, I think, was one of our busiest time as a nonprofit. Like there was no stopping. Like the Zoom thing, being able to connect with people on the outer islands provided a lot of that, but also required us to work twice as harder to kind of rethink and reimagine our program. So a lot of video documentation, a lot of manualizing the different things that we do so that we're able to have something tangible for our families to receive when we couldn't be in person. And so it's just been a lot more, but in a good way. It's pushed our growing edge as an organization to be a little bit more innovative in the way we deliver our programs. And so a blessing and a curse for sure.
Don't see any other questions coming in, but in the chat, a lot of people are just very thankful for the work grounded in culture and community, and just inspired by the wonderful things the Waimānalo community does. And you guys are all doing incredible work. And if there are any, this will be shown and on Facebook and YouTube, but if anyone else has questions, then I can share it with you and Tia Lima, Jane, Shay, and Sam, and kind of answer on the chat through there. But thank you, all of you, for just being here, sharing with us the inequities and disparities in the Waimānalo community, but also sharing with us the strengths. I love that you just all shared how just being together in community, caring for the land, implementing those cultural traditions and values, just really what makes the program, the Waimnalo Pono Research Hui, whole, and how that's just so important, being able to serve the community by, for, and with them. So thank you all again for being here today.